Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the Wednesday, March 4th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Maxine McLean has unveiled what appears to be an immigration scam here in Barbados. The scam, according to her, has seen some foreign nationals paying out thousands of dollars in the hope of obtaining legal status. She said shed some light on the matter as the Senate debated the Immigration Amendment Bill 2015. She revealed that a lawyer working in Barbados has been reportedly exploiting citizens from his country of origin.
Taking from them money purportedly to apply for permanent residence, immigrant status, etc. As much as $6,000 to $10,000 when nobody needs necessarily to have a lawyer file on his or her behalf. But you know what has been discovered? They are telling them to stay on the ground. And when the person then says, look, I've been here 5-6 years, I have no status, they say to them, okay, and they refuse to pay any more money. They say, okay, go to immigration. But you know what will happen when they go? You have broken the law and you're asked to leave.
Senator McLean, who was formerly responsible for immigration matters, says if these illegal immigrants had followed the law, they would have had a better chance of gaining legal status. She also dismissed charges from the opposition about a wholesale purging of non-nationals in Barbados, saying the statistics do not support such an accusation.
The key thing, Madam President, is to show that these numbers have been pretty consistent. What we also would have seen would have been the issue of very small numbers of departures. The other point to make is that when we talk about the movement of people in the Caribbean, if we were to look at those numbers and then look at the movement of skilled nationals, for example, who are moving under the revised Treaty of Chagaramas, you would recognize that we are talking about a very small number of persons who have opted to move as skilled nationals. And therefore, if we need to understand the full range of movement. So the notion that somehow people are treated badly, they have been, to use the word, wholesale purged out of this country is not true.
Government is introducing stiffer penalties for breaches of the Immigration Act as it tries to further secure Barbados borders. This was stressed by Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Senator Darcy Boyce, during debate in the Upper House on the Immigration Amendment Bill 2015. The amendment changes Section 30 of the Act, which provides penalties on summary conviction of $5,000 or imprisonment for 12 months.
Now the persons on summary conviction liable to a fine of $5,000 or to imprisonment for 12 months, or both, or on conviction on indictment to a fine of $25,000 or to imprisonment for 5 years or to both. So now offences under the Immigration Act can be tried in magistrate's court or can be tried in the High Court, with the larger penalty being reserved for the High Court action.
Senator Boyce says the higher level of sanctions are intended to deter some of the unlawful practices of some people.
There are occasions when people leave Barbados, they are deported or they leave on their own accord, and they come back in on passports, which are different from the ones that they came in the first time. And where they have made changes to passports of other countries in order that they can get past the immigration authorities.
The Immigration Amendment Bill 2015 closes a loophole in the existing legislation. That's the view of Government Senator Verla de Pisa. She suggests that under the current law, offenders could walk away with a punishment that did not reflect the gravity of their offense.
It is now falling in line with the other pieces of legislation, and whomsoever the magistrate or judge may be will have, let's call it, sufficiency of sentence. They will be able to punish appropriately for offenses. And the offenses themselves against the Immigration Act do not change. Section 29 is undisturbed. So all we are seeking to do is to make the punishment fit the crime. It is as simple as that.
Opposition Senator Wilfred Abrams believes government has missed a golden opportunity to comprehensively upgrade the Immigration Act. Contributing to parliamentary debate on the Immigration Amendment Bill 2015, he said government has adopted a piecemeal approach to dealing with the legislation.
We have a chance to actually, in this chamber, do some good. And it is not achieved by an ad hoc approach to legislative amendment. There is really and truly no reason whatsoever why, if we chose to tackle the Immigration Act for the first time in years, that the only thing we amend is Section 30 and to stick in an indictable offense. That is really missing a golden opportunity.
Barbados' newest senator was welcomed to the upper chamber today. Senator Carol Lady Haynes was warmly greeted by her colleagues as an accomplished Barbadian who will make a valuable contribution to debates in the House. Among those sharing that sentiment was Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Senator Maxine McLean.
Women do have a particular perspective on matters. We all have individual perspectives, but I think you will bring to our debates not only your personal and professional experience as a medical practitioner, but as a person who has served as a volunteer, as a contribution to the work of a range of NGOs and to government. And therefore, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of my colleagues.
Lady Haynes, whose exploits as an advocate in the fight against HIV and AIDS in particular are well known, said she was honored and humbled by the privilege of being a member of the Senate.
In HIV, which is where I've spent much of my working life, as has been said, I was always committed to a multi-sectoral program and a multi-sectoral response. And from the comments that have been made here, this is clearly a multi-sectoral chamber that we have. And I just hope that I can do justice to the confidence which so many people have expressed. I am honored, privileged, and humbled to be a part of this great chamber.
Well, earlier today at Government House, Governor General Sir Elliot Belgrave administered the oath to the newest senator. The occasion was witnessed by members of her family. Lady Haynes is the widow of founder of the National Democratic Party, or NDP, Sir Richard Haynes. She replaces Tony Marshall, who was recently appointed as the island's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations office in New York. Lady Haynes says it's an honor to serve as a senator.
I am very well aware of the fine tradition of parliamentary representation in this country. I was, as everybody knows, fortunate to have been married to what I consider to be one of the finer parliamentarians. And so I am absolutely honored, and I will certainly do my best to uphold the traditions that I'm following.
Well, Lady Haynes does not expect becoming a senator will impact on her practice as a medical professional.
I am in private practice so that I can control my hours a little bit and work around it. I've done this before when I was with the Global Fund, and I will give it my best shot. And my patients are always, of course, of paramount importance to me, so they will not be forgotten.
We'll have more news after the break, but first we want to get your take on this question. Do you believe Barbados needs stiffer penalties for those who breach immigration laws? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results at the end of the news.
When you need freedom to express yourself, there's nothing like the home you own. Let Scotiabank open the door for you with advice and payment options that match your budget. Visit us today. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Win a cruise this year with Byco. Just spend $10 on any Byco product and claim a scratch card. You could win 2 7-day Carnival cruises, courtesy of Foster & Ince, and 2 dinner cruises from Black Pearl Party Cruises, or one of 500 1-liters of Byco ice cream and 1,000 Byco bandanas. See press for a list of participating outlets or call Byco at 430-2100.
Teaching in schools will not be sacrificed for those teachers wanting to study. Education Minister Ronald Jones says such routines in the past has placed immense pressure on the state. He says those days are over.
Come here to the BCC 5 days a week, get paid full time while you study. Those days are over. Over. Completely over. Today we have teachers at Earlston Teachers College who used to have a day release and all kinds of days. They come at 4 o'clock now every evening and go home at 8. Because you see, every 3 or 4 persons you bring out for a day release, you have to look for a teacher. Because 4, 8, 32, that's a weekly load. So you have to find a teacher that is being paid full time while you are also paid full time. That's double cost on the state.
Mr. Jones was speaking at the Barbados Community College, where an associate degree in procurement was launched. During his speech, the minister said modern technology must be used. He says students should not have to wait long periods for test results.
Things must change. Modern societies are moving very quickly. The longer we delay, the longer we detain, keeps us buried in the 20th century. Keep us as 20th century people. Today, and I use it with teachers, with children, students don't want to wait 6 weeks to see if they are successful in a test or in some form of assessment. Not with current technology where it is almost instantaneous. Why should they have to wait for 4 weeks, 4 months to see if they did something right, wrong, successfully or unsuccessfully?
A new report lists Barbados among 4 CARICOM nations seeing a significant increase in shipments of marijuana. The report notes that while Barbados is not a major producer of illicit drugs, cannabis cultivation has been found in cane fields, gullies and enclosed yards. Jamaica remains the largest illicit producer and exporter of cannabis in Central America and the Caribbean, according to the International Narcotics Control Board INCB report. The board's 2014 report said increased production of the drug has been noted in other countries, in particular Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, as it relates to cocaine, it said that drug continues to be trafficked using private boats, cargo vessels, yachts, shipping vessels, and go-fast boats. The majority of cocaine is believed to be sourced from Colombia, trafficked through Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago and/or Guyana before entering Barbados, and then further trafficked to Europe and/or North America. There are, however, no reports of production, trafficking, or consumption of methamphetamines or other designer drugs. Cuba is hoping to have a business forum with CARICOM states to discuss strengthening trade links. Ambassador Francisco Fernandez Peña says talks on the exchange of information are critical and need to be explored.
We are also calling for a business forum with Caribbean countries, all the members of CARICOM, before the fair, precisely to exchange information on our possibilities. So last year we tried to do it, but it was possible only to deal with 2 or 3 chambers of commerce, and the attendance was 9 countries and businessmen from 6. So we decided to postpone for this year and to bring more information in that regard.
He was speaking at Bagnall's Point Gallery, where a workshop was held for business officials on how trade relations can be improved between Cuba and CARICOM states. Mr. Fernandez Peña says Cuba is not in any way competing with Caribbean economies, just looking to create opportunities for growth.
Very early, it was in the 70s, trying to assure the Caribbean leaders, our sister nation, that we will not compete with the Caribbean economies. We are trying to do the complementation that is necessary, because in this way we will win more and we will get more profit.
A local charity is raising awareness about the plight of people living in Malawi. It's part of Uplift International Barbados celebrations for African Awareness Month. The organization put on an exhibition of Malawian arts and craft in Jubilee Gardens over the weekend to sensitize Barbadians about their annual missions to the African nation, which this year will run from September 7th to the 29th. Local coordinator Winston Griffith tells CBC News about the purpose of their mission.
Primarily evangelism, and then we do medical missions. We go into the villages and we give out medicine. In fact, we meet with the villagers, and so we see them. In fact, some of them will not see a doctor unless we go there. And also we do empower the women by having sewing classes. We get Malawian women to teach the women to sew, so as to empower them so that they can benefit themselves. Then we also drill wells. We also present blankets and Bibles to the native, to the brethren in Malawi.
And Jenny Ellis, a UK visitor to Barbados who took in the exhibition with her husband, coincidentally did work in Malawi as a correspondent for the BBC. She gave some insight into what it's like for many in Malawi.
There's a lot of poverty out there. Yeah, I think so. You know, if I think about when I was there, you know, for what, you know, everybody had servants out there, and what you pay your housekeeper for a week was this, you know, how much you pay for a loaf of bread, which is just outrageous.
Still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region. But first, a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question. Do you believe Barbados needs stiffer penalties for those who breach immigration laws? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the